and what a struggle, my God. And I was 23 years then, so like we've known what other players have been doing even internationally. We've never actually tracked or bothered much or cared about competition. Right? We were not spared. We had zero business for 2 months.
I know Justdail is kind of passe for a lot of people right now. I don't know how many people use it, so what. But I do remember at the time you guys launched, which is 2014, 15, maybe even 16. I still see ads in the movie theaters with Justdail, kind of ads. Um, were they ever competition? Because I would imagine if I wanted some service, I would go to Justdial and probably find something. And they had the iconic phone number which you could call and get these numbers messaged to you. How did you guys view a giant?
Yeah, on the side, I'm a big fan of Just Dial ads. I think they just do a phenomenal job. They still played on the movie theaters, I think. Uh, so I think the first 2 years, when we launched, we were definitely not the first people. There were about 150 companies in the same space in India already launched, and some of them were pretty large from our vantage point then. Uh, and I remember we used to have a David and the Goliath joke. It was not a joke; it was a pump up. It was a pitch we used to do in our town halls.
The rally cry.
Where yes, and I think you were there in one of them probably, right? So we had this whole David and Goliath thing happening, and it was not a real thing. We've used it a few times in our early days, and for that, the Goliath used to be like the bigger player. Uh, and the whole pitch was we need to be nimble. So it's getting the teams to iterate things fast and kind of not be intimidated. But interestingly, I think we've never had a very strong like we've known what other players have been doing even internationally. We've never actually tracked or bothered much or cared about competition, and thank God for that, because we've had the freedom to change and iterate through business models. So right now we are nothing like. So I think the big players, if you said back in 2016 or 15 for us, like though just as like it's a classified, so it's a very different industry, but some people would refer to that as one of the bigger players. You had Thumbtack in the US, which was doing pretty well. Our initial models, drawings were based out of what those were doing. We're a very different business today. We're a fulfilled business. We are not a classifieds or a or open marketplace, right? We're a very, very high touch point, controlling every part of the experience kind of company.
Coming to the controlled part of the business, right? It was a very dirty business, so to speak, in the sense you'll have to go grassroots. The service provider and the person who received the service are probably from very different backgrounds, right? And of course, how did you guys put yourself in their shoes? What was the initial thought process? How did you get yourself convinced that this is something that you could do?
Yeah. No, we used to, our families would always ask us, "Ye kya कीचड़ industry में क्यों फंस गए हो? Like, it's so unsexy." But I guess we've made this unsexy very sexy. I think, Varun, it started off with, I think our journey probably went through like very distinct 4 phases. These mini pivots which happened. Right, the first version was we were very clear that the industry is very fragmented, and there is definitely a lack of structure. Right, so our first version was really where we sort of wanted to connect people, reduce the hurdles in connection, but we wanted to be category experts, and at that point, the category expert piece meant, can I capture the right information for a professional? So if it's a photographer, we actually had amongst the best portfolios for these photographers, or an interior designer. Right, we went really deep into structure and information, and that was the first touch point. Right, saying that it's an open marketplace. You come, you give your requirements, we'll connect you to the top 5 people we can find. But very soon we realized, actually that's really not where all the problems end. Right, and I think we were just touching the tip of the iceberg. We realized some people just want the job to be done. Like, I don't want to choose between the professionals. So that's when we created a booking model where you can actually book And that was not true for all categories, right? So a plumber or a carpenter or a beautician, you just say, hey, I want a service professional to show up. We decide the service professional to show up, right? And this was a huge risk to go from an open marketplace to now actually the onus being on us. But it seemed like the right thing to do. Uh, and that's when the third learning came in. So there was a second mini shift, right? The third shift was, now that the onus is on us, we better control quality. Right? And quality became a huge thing. And we wanted to control quality because we realized all of this structuring and stuff is great, but at its core, the industry is fragmented. And because of that, the quality benchmarks are all over the place. Like, it was so bad that if I asked you, can you define what a yoga instructor is supposed to do? As a consumer, you probably couldn't define it. Now, I don't know, like like, for example, what are the SKUs for a plumber? No clue. He's supposed to come and fix. How do I know what more can he do, right? And so we had to go deeper. Quality became a big thing. And the first hurdle we had to cross was, how do we control our supply, right? In a fragmented industry, you have these aggregators which exist, right? So there'll be a bunch of plumbers under one contractor or a bunch of beauticians under a salon head, right, who'd be doing at home. It became a big hurdle. So we changed that and we went straight. And this is where we cut the line from having aggregators to actually having directly beauticians and plumbers on our platform. And again, something unthought through because they never did digital commerce. These people are not used to digital commerce, right? And I think that was amongst the most fundamental things we could have done. It can completely change things because that gave us the ability to go super deep. And what we did after that was then build different infrastructural pieces for these partners, right? From kind of figuring out how booking and calendar management happens for them, to solving training, to solving their financial needs. There's zero capital which they have. So how do we give them capital and loans, and so on and so forth.